It is my distinct pleasure to read for you a new episode from the Harlequin stories by Maxwell Conroe. Now collected in a booklet titled Adeline, Who Killed the Writer? This episode is named Athena's Doubts. Yes, the goddess Athena herself now makes a surprise appearance in this episode and helps Maxwell put into perspective how and why the Trojan War was started in the first place. Oh, hello! Yes, time has passed. But there are definitely new developments to report about Maxwell and his ventures into Greek mythology with the aim to redeem the doom that had befallen the house of Agamemnon of Mycenae. Here is what recently transpired when the writer sat down at his desk and was contemplating his writing project. Well, yes, the story is not letting me go. Lately, it preoccupies my entire life. Day and night, I think about it. I keep searching for new avenues to decide on the most feasible and plausible way to advance this story. Mr. Maxwell, are you sure you are up to the task that Electra, that little trickster of a jester, has tried to trick you into? Are you fully aware of what you're getting into? Hello, yeah, that is exactly what I was hoping for. I need some help, or at least some good advice. Am I right in assuming that you are of divine lineage and well-informed enough to say a few wise words about my writing project? We normally do not deal with individuals like you, Mr. Maxwell. Throughout Greek history, the gods exclusively counseled kings and queens only. No, ordinary mortals like you we would rarely mingle with. Do you understand, Maxwell? That sounds like I have very little to say over that matter, at least in your opinion, am I right? Your opinion? It is not relevant for us, whether your opinion would be right or wrong, or anything at all for that matter. We ancient Greek gods still ruled the world. You have heard that much from my father's voice, when he talked to you the other day. He asked me to pay you a visit too, so you can hear firsthand from me, Zeus' daughter, how the Trojan War has started. Are you interested, Maxwell, in hearing my story? Welcome, Pallas Athena. For it is you whom I now understand was sent to me by Zeus. Of course, my divine visitor, it will be an enormous honor to hear your story. I could not have wished for anything more. Be my guest as you please. I am truly humbled by your sudden appearance. This business goes back long to the times before the start of the Trojan War. We were all attending the great wedding of King Peleus of Phthia and his wife Thetis. As you may know, they later produced Achilles, their son, who was to play such a decisive role in the Trojan War. It was Achilles who would kill Prince Hector of Troy in a fierce battle. But some time before the war started, a peculiar incident occurred during the wedding of Peleus and Thetis. The goddess Eris, who sows strife and discord, was not invited to Peleus' wedding. But nonetheless, she showed up at the gate with a present. Hermes was the gatekeeper and told her off, but she threw in her gift, a beautiful golden apple. I am sure you have heard the outlines of the story before. Oh, yes, it is a remarkable story, truly remarkable indeed. This golden apple offered by Eris was to be for the goddess who was the fairest. Everyone agreed that the three candidates for this predicate were Aphrodite, goddess of sexuality, love and beauty, Hera, goddess of marriage, family and harmony, and myself, goddess of wisdom, warfare and handicraft. Unfortunately, we had some rivalry ongoing between us at the time, and this was deceitfully exploited by Eris and her damned golden apple. Aphrodite, Hera and I could not muster the generosity to grant the apple to any one of us. So instead, we resorted to pick out an arbitrary shepherd, a rather good-looking one, to act as our arbiter to decide whom of us deserved to earn the golden apple. And that was our great mistake. This is something T-Hat may need some further explanation. Very well then, we asked the shepherd to decide who deserved the golden apple. Each of us tried to bribe him by promising certain privileges. But being young and looking for a wife, the shepherd eagerly accepted Aphrodite's pledge to give him the most beautiful woman in the world if he would award the golden apple to her, Aphrodite that is. The shepherd in question appeared to be no one less than Prince Paris of Troy, who was left to grow up anonymously in the countryside, safely away from the turmoil of Troy. But he soon claimed his prize, Helena, the Queen of Sparta, at the time indeed widely considered as the most beautiful living female of all humans. Aphrodite made Helena fall in love with Paris, and she eloped to Troy with him. You probably understand how displeased Hera and I were about the whole affair. I can see some downsides. Yes, Hera is the goddess of harmony and family values. She surely would disapprove of the marital infidelity that Aphrodite made Helena commit. And you yourself, being the goddess of wisdom, would have made a good candidate for the golden apple, because with wisdom comes fairness, usually that is. So having Aphrodite claiming her prized golden apple, yes, that was a bit of a stretch and not really the finest thing to see happening, depending upon what perspective one takes. But Athena, may I ask why this golden apple was so important to you? The apple was not important at all. There was just this enormous rivalry ongoing between me and Aphrodite, and less so with Hera, but it happened all the same. And from there on was triggered a whole series of dramatic events. You can imagine how King Menelaus of Sparta was beyond himself of rage and hatred for Paris of Troy. He vowed to bring Helena back from Troy and rallied all the Greek kings to help them in his quest. They all obliged. Unfortunately, now this rotten golden apple had caused a war to start. And as the goddess of war, it was me who had to preside over the terrible events that started to unfold. That involved also the Trojans, who were worshipping me just as much as the Ionian and Doric Greeks did. So I tried to be fair and impartial during the war that followed. However, once we have a war ongoing on the ground, the Greek gods were all appealed to for help from all sides. You can imagine what dark bartering was taking place. At every stage in the 10-year-long war, more and more gods became involved. I had a terrible decade in trying to stop this senseless war that should never even have been started in the first place. This is how I still feel today. Do you see my point and my terrible dilemmas, Maxwell? I see some complexities. Sure. But Athena, I have seen or read somewhere that in fact, Zeus himself had no little hand in provoking this war. Allegedly, he thought the earth was overpopulated and a war was a good method to depopulate certain regions. What truth is there in this allegation? I have never heard such nonsense. My father has his whims, admittedly, but starting this Trojan War was not one of them. It was accidentally started by a judgment error of Aphrodite, Hera, and myself. If we would have relegated the apple to Aphrodite right away, no war would have been triggered, I am quite sure of that. Maxwell, but now it has happened and it left a huge impact on our historical view of how the old world went through ups and downs of its own account. You know what devastation was caused by this Trojan War, and especially the house of Agamemnon suffered dire consequences. Would there be any way to change some of the past myths, possibly? Of course, this would mean a great deal to me, because I have promised Electra, to help her find a way to achieve redemption. Maxwell, that was very courageous of you. Men like you I hold in very high esteem, but my options to help you are limited, but maybe. No! Well, what? What is it? What are you holding back from me? I will do anything possible in my power to meet your requirements if you could help me reach my goal, which is to redeem the tragedy that befell the house of Agamemnon. I believe your sincerity, and I will think of any option feasible. But a lot of things cannot be undone. Many men misbehaved gruesomely during the Trojan War. Achilles dragged the mutilated body of Hector tied behind his chariot across the fields near to the walls of Troy, so everyone could see Hector was defeated. This was an evil deed. Achilles lost his divine protection because of that deed, and was soon to die himself. Ajax the Lesser, another war legend, terribly misbehaved during the sacking of Troy after 10 years of warring and siege. He raped Princess Cassandra, daughter of Hector, on the altar of a temple dedicated to my name. Can you imagine? Ajax was punished by me for this callous act. When he set sail to return home, his ships met a terrible storm and he perished. But what about Agamemnon? Did he deserve the fate that he and his family met? Agamemnon was not a bad fellow. He tried to protect Cassandra and offered her safe passage out of Troy. He took her back to Sparta, which was not so wise. Perhaps you know how Clytemnestra was utterly misinformed about many issues. When Agamemnon was blackmailed by the goddess Artemis to sacrifice his daughter to find support for his war efforts in Troy, he never slaughtered anything else but a deer. The Greek poet Hesiod knew this and wrote about it 780 to 650 before Christ. So Iphigenia survived, but went in hiding and later became the goddess Hecate, who communicates with the dead. She also masters magic. She is still around today, because as you know, all gods are immortal, we have eternal life. Perhaps, dear Maxwell, she, Hecate, could be made into an ally for your quest. Oh, that would be a great start. I think Adeline really is under the impression that Iphigenia was killed by her father. It would greatly cheer her up if what you say, and why should I doubt the truthfulness of your divine judgment? Yes, I very much would like to talk to Hecate. Please kindly ask this godly creature any time soon to come and see me. You see, my dear readers and listeners, how Maxwell pulls it off. To me, he seems already well underway to put the record straight, so to speak. If the writer is able to enlist help from Iphigenia, presently known as Hecate, I think we will see him succeed in helping Adeline restore her family's tragedy. I really believe that may be feasible. Yes, it's possible.